Ending that report by Richard Downs. We're joined now in studio by Karl Deeter of mortgagebrokers.ie. Karl, prices down nationally in November and December. Does that suggest to you a market on the turn?
Not to me. I have a different view of this. We have seen times in the last 5 years where prices stagnated or went down by small amounts, and it didn't mean anything. It could be seasonal fluctuation. I'm not a believer that rising prices are a good thing. I should make that clear from the start. I think they're very destructive. But when we know that we're not building enough homes, when we know that there is a huge amount of demand for a supply that is nowhere near where it needs to be, there's nothing within that really suggests that prices will drop. Like, it's illogical. How would you have people wanting more of something that we're not delivering, and yet somehow the price stabilises or drops? And those, to me, are incompatible objectives. And
yet we saw in Richard's report, prices down, homes remain unsold, and yet there's desperate people queuing up to try and buy houses, but they just can't reach the price. Yeah, well, what we saw, for instance, was very interesting, because there was one place where people were priced out on the first day, and other folks were camping out for a week. You have a developer on saying, look, you can't sell everything fast. That really is telling you a story of where prices might start to plateau at a higher end, which can happen in cities where development prices are higher, where the price for development land is higher and everything else is going to be more. But it doesn't mean then that people won't move to the next available place and try to buy there. And what you see is these sort of concentric circles bulging out from cities where people are fleeing in terms of where they're renting, and they're fleeing in terms of where they're buying. And that turns into longer commute times. And it all feeds into an issue of really striking right through a generation. You saw a person at the end who was saying, we want to get married, we don't feel we can do that. We want to have kids, we don't feel we can do that. Like, this issue is going to make them then probably do all these things later. They might have children living with them at their retirement age. It'll make it harder for them to be debt-free as they go into old age, harder to save for a pension. So these things, they actually turn into like an intergenerational problem. And meanwhile, we also have people resisting higher property taxes. We've got people living in very large homes, underusing them. And we've never found a way to resolve that and encourage people to move. Well, what's the advice to couples like the ones you mentioned? I mean, they're stuck, they're paying rent, which is money down the drain, as they would see it, and yet they're worried that prices are going to keep rising, and therefore they get priced out of they'll continue to not to be able to catch up with them. So what's the advice to them? Try and buy now, or wait and hope that the market does turn?
We always tell people, you've got to go with what you believe is right for you. I mean, okay, yeah, people say rent is dead money. It's not. You get a house for it. Mortgage interest is dead money. Like, there's loads of ways of viewing things to say that, oh, you shouldn't do this. Buying a house is very good for your lifetime wealth. That is something that I'm hugely in favour of. And what it means is that as you come into old age, you have a very valuable asset. You've got no debt. It's amazing. It's been shown in many different countries to improve wealth. That's why when people say people should rent forever, a financial advisor within me secretly dies, because I'm saying that's not the way it goes. But for some people, it is going to be how it is. And we've got to look at a way to make that rental market accessible, affordable. They're all very difficult things to do because we have very high standards. We have people who will object to building anything at all. And when you have that situation, again, it gets into this area of incompatible objectives. Our property market is now, to me, overvalued, but it's still probably going to keep going. And it is effectively a fly in search of a windscreen.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Karl Deeter, for joining us. Miriam.
Well, that's all from us for tonight. We're back again on Thursday. Congrats, of course.